Hello folks, Halcylion here. It's been nearly 1 year since my journey in Calradia began, and I have managed to earn enough gold to invest into a couple of workshops, and still have 40,000 left. My primary goal for the following months is making enough money to finally invest into several caravans. We'll see how that goes. Welcome to the 4th episode of Trader Stories. Here we are outside Marunath, ready to do business. The first thing I've done is have a chat with Aaron to give him a gift of 10 denars. A small price to pay for 2 levels in charm. But you already know how I do these social maneuvers, and I've done them all throughout the episode, but it's not worth reporting every single one of these encounters. They are insignificant in the grand scale of things. Now, it's the 17th day of spring. In just a few days, it will have been exactly 1 year since our adventure began. And before I set off on another trade expedition, I think I'll spend a few days practicing my skills at the forge. I don't plan to be a master swordsmith, but I want to be able to craft weapons to the exact specifications I need. Seonon has affordable wood in stock. I shall buy some and turn it into charcoal. This charcoal is then used to smelt down any weapons taken from all the looters we've murdered. This process not only gives me materials to forge my own weapons, but it also teaches me how to craft different weapon parts. Hopefully, one day, I'll be able to forge my own falks. Till then, I'll have to spend a lot of time establishing my corporation and sweating at the forge to practice my blacksmith skills. But timber was not the only affordable ware in this town. Horses are extremely cheap, so of course I bought them all. As I said on numerous occasions, maybe I'll sell them for profit, but if I don't, my warband will move faster on the map, so they're always a good investment. Once this was done, I stepped into the forge and started working. Eventually I've gained a focus point, which went into smithing. It would speed up my learning of this craft. The problem with blacksmithing is the fact that it's exhausting and you absolutely must rest in a town before you can start smithing again, and this got boring enough to the point where I felt the need to spill some blood. As we were waiting, my men spotted a group of looters passing near town, and when I was informed of their transgression, I instantly rode out to catch them. There's not much I can say about that fight. It was routine. They charged my shield wall, 8 arrows, got scared and tried running away, only to be impaled on my spear. That's how fights against looters usually go. At this point I just hunt them for sport. Then I went back in town and continued my routine of resting and smelting. The days passed and I didn't feel like I've accomplished much, because I haven't. As I was waiting for my energy to return, the sun rose up, revealing the first day of summer, as well as the conclusion of 1 year of adventuring throughout Calradia. May we have many, many more. The first thing I've done as I woke up was head to the forge and work some more, but afterwards I decided to head out, meet some people and do more trades. In the tavern of Seonon, I met a man named Garayan the Ragged. He didn't seem like he was special, but one thing drew my attention: his chainmail. So I recruited him for the steep price of 2,000 denars, way more than a man of his skills deserved, but I paid up because I had other plans. I would take his chainmail for myself. Usually, good armor such as this is priced in the tens of thousands, and I got it for 2 grand, so it's a great deal. Eventually I'd give him some proper armor when my finances are well established, but for now, let him wear my clothes. Soon after, I saw a wandering band of looters, so I decided to give this chainmail a test. Well, no matter how tough the armor, it's never a good idea to charge headfirst into a looter's knife. 75 damage taken, that's the price of stupidity. Well, at least this was a lesson, not to get cocky. But these are just simple, honest, hard-working looters, so the fight ended quickly, and another one of my archers could be trained into a paladin guard. I now have 4 in total. With the test concluded, it was time to head over to Seonon, load up on goods, and begin my trade odyssey. I spent a little under 9,000 on whatever I bought, but before I even made my first sale, I stopped by the village of Remtoil. If you remember, I previously said, if Melodier of Remtoil ever has a job for me, I will immediately take it, because he would allow me to recruit highborns. And guess what? He does have a job, but he doesn't have highborns in stock anymore. Weird. I'll still take the job though. I'm gonna have to train 10 of his peasants into proper militiamen. Melodier knows they may not all return, but he kindly asked me to try not to get all of them killed. I think I can do that. Alright boys, let's go forth to victory or glorious death. I would not intentionally go look for bandits to fight, but if any of them cross my path during my trade runs, I would engage them in battle and turn these village boys into real men. Or fertilizer, depends on their luck. Legetau is a stone's throw away from Remtoil, so that was my first stop. In this market, I've earned 18,000 denars. This is one of the largest sales I've ever done in my adventure so far, but I still had plenty of stuff to sell, so Ortygia was next on my list. Because I was slowed down by too many soldiers, the looters who joined my cause were let go. But before we reached Ortygia, I saw a good opportunity to train those villagers. I ordered my archers to hold fire, told my infantry to raise a shield wall, and placed the peasants behind them. When the looters rushed the wall, the peasants were ordered to charge. In my mind, this was a flawless idea, but in practice, it got 2 of them killed. Whoops, I'll have to be more careful next time, I don't want to fail the mission. After the fight was over, we arrived to Ortygia, but it failed to meet even my low expectations. All I do here is purchase some cheap salt, which was rumored to make a profit back north, but the profit it did earn was disappointing. I went back to Seonon, the town with the cheapest goods, restocked on supplies and went to trade yet again. For some reason I decided to go back to Ortygia, and along the way, we were presented with more training opportunities. But they were all in vain. The borrowed troops stagnated because my own soldiers stole all the kills. Eventually I arrived in Kiaz expecting to sell my wares for profit, but that was not the case. I ended up spending 10k on various wares, which could probably fetch me a profit in the previously visited towns. They kinda did. I didn't liquidate my entire stock, so it's difficult to calculate my profits, but in 10 days I earned another 13k, which is something, I guess. But it's all getting so repetitive in this episode. Buy cheap stuff, kill looters, sell stuff for profit, buy more cheap stuff, and it's going on and on. But this is the only way to raise my trade skill, so I'll stay on the grind. If I regret something, it's the fact I've taken that mission for Remtoil. These must be the village idiots, because they refuse to learn. Fight after fight after fight where I have not 1 but 2 goals. Number 1, make sure the idiots score some kills. Number 2, prevent the idiots from dying. It's difficult to balance the 2 and make any progress. At some point I even tried to demoralize my enemies, get them to run away in terror and have the peasants chase them down, but guess what? They can't catch up. So I had to come up with creative ideas, such as using the horse to bodyblock the looters and allow the imbeciles to score a few hits, get some kills and gain experience. A tedious process which was going to take me a while. For now, let's go back to trading. After a few more failed attempts to train those cretins, I was back at a designated cheap goods market, Seonon, and decided to try my luck in the north. I spent the 13k I made on whatever was cheap, and then headed for the first Sturgian town, Varcheg. It's Vlandian now. No matter. I didn't sell much of my stock, but I found some more cheap horses for sale, so how could I resist? Next stop, Omor. Before arriving in that town, however, I noticed another training opportunity. So I took it. I wiped them all out and finally, the last village idiot was now ready to be turned into veteran village idiot. Soon as I paid for his equipment, I got this message to send them all back home. Since their training was mentally exhausting, I, of course, told them to fuck off back to their village, but fate had other plans. For some reason or another, they refused. Whatever, I'd offload my stuff in Omor and take them home myself. This town wasn't all that profitable. I managed to earn about 6k, half of which were spent on cheap beer. As I was heading back to Remtoil, I passed through the town of Epikrotea, and to my surprise, I managed to sell a lot of my stuff, earning about 11,000 and putting me close to the 60,000 denar mark in the 16th day of summer. This was the only ray of sunshine I've seen since my trade run began. Well, the first sale in Lageta was pretty good, but that was right at the start and it's been a long time since I felt like I've made any progress. Time to get the peasants back to their village. We're here, guys, can you leave, please? They don't want to. Maybe I need to speak with a quest giver? Hello, sir.
Have you been able to train my men?
Yes I have. Where's the option? Yes. We are heading out now? No, we've already headed out. They are trained and ready to defend their village. This option just ends the conversation if I'm just now getting started. The other option is, I'm still working on it. I've finished working on it, pay me. A few of them are unconscious. Maybe they need to heal their wounds before I can return them? Sure, let's wait a little. Okay, they're healed now. Hey peasants, time for you to leave my party and get back home. We're here. My options for this conversation are the same. Yes, we're heading out and I'm working on it. What the fuck is this bullshit? Quest asks for 10. And even though 2 of them died, that was expected. Earlier, I got the option to send the 8 trained troops back home, but this failed and now I'm stuck with them? They must have enjoyed violence so much that they simply refused to leave my warband. Looks like this entire stressful quest was for nothing. It will fail, Melidier will hate me for it, and I would have wasted all this time for nothing. Fuck! Should have just focused on trading. And this is exactly what I would do from now on. In this episode I've done nothing but go in circles, and now I'm back at the start, in Seonon, to stock up on cheap goods for what feels like the 100th time. But this time I hope to do it right and break the cycle. Just spend 16k, let's see if it will pay off. First sale was in Lagetta, 8.6k. Soon after, the quest finally timed out. I lost a lot of standing with Melodier, but nothing of value was lost. I mistakenly believed he would have a constant supply of highborn archers, but apparently he doesn't, so fuck Remtoil. I hope Ricardo burns it to the ground. Next stop, Ortygia. 14.6k earned in one sale. This sale also leveled me up, so I put one focus point into stewardship and one attribute point into endurance. Maybe smithing will become more than a hobby in the future. Right now my goal is not necessarily to sell high and buy low, my focus is strictly on sale. What I'm doing right now is called trail trading, at least that's what I call it. But gold is not all I'm after. Sometimes I just want blood. Looters have proven a good source in the past, so let's catch some. In this battle I made use of the simplest tactic. Shield wall in front, archers in the back, and me doing drive-bys from behind their line. It worked pretty well, and it resulted in this beautifully painted canvas. A morbid masterpiece. Afterwards I stopped in Kiaz, but I didn't manage to make too much money in here. My trail through the desert would continue until I've reached Sanala. No money made here either, but I could not resist buying this cheap beer. Maybe I'll sell it on my way back north. There's a lot of traffic around Sanala though, so let's have a chat with some of these villagers. Ooh, they have some cheap workhorses for sale. Yes, please. Sultan Unkid is also here, and he may have a history lesson for me to skip through. I'll pay him 10 dinars for his trouble. In the meantime, I kept approaching groups of villagers and buying out their pack animals for a pittance. By now, my convoy grew to an enormous size, and it was time to visit Askar. After all, I've only heard good things about it. But what's this outside town? A group of 40 looters. I cannot just pass by such a wonderful opportunity to give my archers some target practice. We gave chase, assumed position up on the hill, and rained down arrows on them. It didn't take long until fear overwhelmed their hearts and they ran for their lives, to their deaths. I guess a few of them escaped, so yay for them. By now you may have become aware that greed is not my main deadly sin. It's wrath. You see, the biggest misconception people have about us merchants is that we are peaceful sheep just waiting to be slaughtered by those nasty raiders. The so-called wolves of Calradia prowling around hungry for our blood. What many don't seem to understand is that the gold earned from trading is the fuel of my unstoppable war machine, which is built for the sole purpose of fulfilling my bloodlust. I'm not peaceful, I'm simply taking my time, savoring my inevitable rise to power, preparing my army and getting ready to crush those who stand in my way. These looters are nothing more than stepping stones for my recruits to train into cold-blooded killers. But for now, I trade, and the people of Calradia are none the wiser. In Askar there was a lot of cheap stuff to purchase, beer, horses and a ton of grain. Spent over 10 grand in that town and I'm hoping to make a lot of money on my way back north. A lot of this grain was sold to villages in need for whatever cheap goods they had and all of their money, so it was going pretty well. Then I went back to Kiaz and exchanged some of this grain for cheap fish and flax. But before I continued my journey north, I spent some time here talking with villagers and relieving them of their workhorses. My caravan and finances were now developed enough for me to activate money printer mode, but I'll hold off on doing that for now. I would just try to sell my stuff. On my return trip, Ortygia was extra nice to me. I was going to earn 18k from a single sale, but I spent some of that money on cheap salt, which would be bought by Lagetta and Seonon for a decent profit. Actually, before arriving in my favorite town, I spotted a large group of mountain bandits. Finally, something else to kill besides looters. I was getting bored by how easy they were to murder, so I relished the opportunity to fight actual bandits. 29 of them versus 35 of us. We'll definitely win, but if I make tactical errors, this could turn out to be a Pyrrhic victory. And that's not something I want. For once during this series, let's watch the fight for more than 2 minutes instead of skipping through it. After all, it's the first real battle we've engaged in. My tactics are limited. All I've got is shielded infantry and archers. Since these brigands can be dangerous, I fell back to an advantageous position, spread my archers on top of the hill and placed my shield wall in front. A pretty standard procedure. The main objective was to force the fight to take place in an open field rather than in the woods. Easier for my archers to hit their targets. And my god did they hit. Arrows rained down on these hillmen, and before they've even reached my front line, they proved to be no better than common looters trying to run away to save themselves. And you know how I feel about runners. I feel they're good practice for my combat skills. The last one was acting erratically and managed to feint a couple of my charges, but his end was no different from that of his comrades. Disappointed by their lack of challenge, I continued onwards to Seonon, where, as I said, I sold some more stuff, but I didn't make as much profit as I was expecting. Can you guess why? That's right, it had a lot of cheap goods for sale, so I couldn't help myself. I had to spend some more money, even though I really wanted to be done with this and take a breather. I guess I did take a little break when I went in the forge and made myself a brand new sword. Kind of shoddy, but at least it's long enough to effectively be used from horseback. Rough Chopper is an appropriate name for it. I could have named it Widow's Wail or something like that, but anything beyond a descriptive name is overkill for such a shitty sword, even that edgy name. Widow's Wail. Only a cunt would give that name to his sword. But as soon as I've done that, I decided it was time to invest in myself, so I spent a small fortune on a proper helmet and some more armor, including a good barding for my horse. From this point on, I had two goals I would hope to achieve simultaneously. Travel from town to town to both sell my loot and join tournaments. They're the best test for my new gear. In Maronouth, I made a huge sale, earning 20k and several skill points in trade. So much, in fact, that I would unlock the ability to gain renown passively from each of my caravans. I never thought I'd get this perk before my first caravan, but here we are. In this town there's also a competition. Battanian tournament. I'm not great with two-handers, but I placed some bets on myself. Let's see how it went. First round was an archery contest between two teams. I'm not terrible at archery, so this was pretty easy to win. Would have been harder if they aimed at me. Round 2 was a free-for-all, where I was given a bow yet again. With a ranged weapon, I could decide who was going to fall first. I was scared of facing the green team in a 1v1, so I tried to make them be the first losers. I succeeded, and the second place would be taken by the red team. I put an arrow in the last challenger before he even reached me. The third round was against a Falksman and a Horseman, or rather, against someone with no armor and someone with decent armor. Because my teammate was useless, I single-handedly, or rather double-handedly, defeated both opponents myself. I was a bit worried for the final round because it would be a duel with two-handers and I'm not great with those. But I blocked my opponent's first strike, and all that was needed to knock him out were 2 good swings. That victory earned me a wolf pelt shoulder, which isn't very profitable, but it's still something. Next up, Penkanok. Nearly 6k earned in here, but no tournament. After that, Dunglanis earned me another 4k, and my last stop would be in Karban Seth, where I had nothing to sell. But there was a tournament in town, so I decided to participate. After all, I was well equipped. Let's see how this one went. Round 1, duel with two-handers. 1 parry and 2 swings were enough to win me the duel. The second round was an archery contest between myself and a bunch of Fians versus some guys who couldn't hope to match us. Easy fight. Round 3 was rather scary because I was faced with elite soldiers who were better fighters with large weapons than myself, but with a little help from my teammate, we knocked them on their asses, and now, for the final duel, I was faced with a highborn warrior. Fast, good armor, highly skilled in two-handers. Tough fight. The first move he prepared was a swing from my right, and as I prepared to parry, he feinted and switched towards the left. And even though I anticipated that move, I still couldn't react to it properly and I got hit. I failed to block a couple more times, but that was on account of my opponent failing to hit. Then I got some courage and took a swing. My opponent countered it with a chamber. That is when you deflect an enemy's attack with your own attack, but luckily it missed. But when I saw just how aggressive my adversary was, I concluded that trying to defend is useless, especially if he keeps feinting. So I went berserk. Swing after swing after swing. And my aggression was rewarded with a nice broadsword, which is, a lot better than the chopper I've crafted myself. That's nice, but it kinda makes my blacksmithing feel pointless. It feels good to win. By now it's been almost 2 months since the start of the episode. During this time I trained a total of 9 Paladin guards, doubled my money, and on top of that, I've managed to obtain some badass new gear which would be very helpful in my upcoming battles. Now it would have been a good time to bring the episode to an end, so I wanted a nice shot of my character parading on a battlefield with his new set of armor after cutting a swath through his enemies. But I got careless, engaged them on foot, and got knocked on my ass, so now, enjoy the last shot of my 9 Paladin guards. Well, this was all for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.